presents this program in color.
Hold it. I think you're going to like this picture.
Ready? Go.
Here's Mac Murphy. He's the man of the band, nothing more. Here's Mac Murphy. Every show we promote on the score. Well, he's never been in a press box. I talk with the shock through the locker room door. Yes, here's Mac Murphy. The fans
fans talking to fans.
And never be wrong.
We don't need no experts. You are the expert. How you doing, everybody? Murph with you from now until 2 o'clock, driven to you by Chevy Drives Chicago.com. Oh, man, where do we start? We're going to start with baseball, and we'll probably today finish with baseball. Oh, by the way, between now and 2 o'clock, the very next time you hear Hawk Harrelson say, "Hey, Hawk," be the first caller to our contest phone line, and that number remains 591-6700. Pair of White Sox tickets to the game Wednesday, June 10, courtesy of The Score. And we are the radio home, courtesy also of them, the White Sox. All right, now, I see phones already ringing, which usually confuses me, which is easy to do, confuse me, because we haven't thrown a topic out yet. But I can understand. I have unprecedented texts and emails here this morning. Sox fans a little upset. Cub fans very upset. We will give 2 hours to you now to open up your heart, your ideas, and we open up our phone line to you. 644-6767. Well, I could start philosophically and say, yes or no, all losses are created equal. Are all losses created equally? Because if you look at what happened last night, Sox lose, Cubs lose, right? Final score, White Sox lose 5-0. Cubs had a 5-0 lead and blew it. So, the easy question for a sports talk topic would be, you know what? A loss is a loss is a loss. Are some losses worse than others? Well, not at the end of the season. Not when you look at the final standings, the final results. But there is the Dave Van Dyke angle, which I love when you hear Vandy on The Score. And he says, you know what, at the end of the year, I have those 5 games, the 5 that any team in baseball let get away. Maybe there's more. You hope there's not 10, 15, 20. Last night, the Sox lose 5-0. It's never fun to lose. The Cubs blow a 5-run lead and lose 6-5. Are those games equal in the standings? Yes. Are all losses created equal? That's one thing we can talk about. Number 2, the baseball season just about for most teams 1/3 over today, tomorrow, the next day. All teams will be at the 1/3. Divide 3 into 162. What is that? 3 and 162, that'd be a 5, and then 1, you carry to 1, 2, 54, right? 54 games. Most teams in the next day or two will be at the 54-game mark. 1/3. 1/3. Let me ask you this. Sox fans, Cub fans, equal opportunity. In the stock market, large companies, those listed on the New York Stock Exchange, they have quarterly reports. And prior to quarterly reports, they often give what they call guidance. Here's a little guidance. So all you guys and gals that play the stock market, you can get tricked. No. The guidance is supposed to be upfront, transparent, and so that everybody, be it the little guy or the big guy on the Wall Street bench or the little guy investing onesie-twosies or trying to get the 401k back up from 200, and a half, double back up to 401, guidance. What I'd like you to do is this. Take your favorite team right now, Cubs and Sox. Fans, 1/3 gone. Give me guidance right now for the next third, the second third of the season. From what you've seen, Sox fans, from what you've seen, Cub fans, in the first third, pretend it's a stock market issue, and you're going to announce to all of Wall Street, here's our guidance for the second third coming up of the season. The next 54 games, give me some guidance. 644-6767. We're going to talk about Zambrano. We're going to talk about the number 83. Number 83. Number of pitches last night. We're going to talk about suspending players. We're going to talk about what role a player should have voting his own teammate to be suspended. Just heard the whip, Brian Peruke, with a little new information there on the update. I'm not surprised at all. How about the key errors by the White Sox third baseman and the Cubs first baseman last night? See, all this gets lost in the shuffle. The Cubs' biggest loss of the year, was it? Or was it not? And I will say this right now. It was Lou Piniella's worst game as a manager. 644-6767. Let's start right off with Springfield, Illinois. Hugh on the score. Hey, Hugh, how are you, Hugh?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Go, I'm fine. Hey, Hugh, 1/3 of the way through the season. Declare, Cubs or Sox are you going to talk about with me here?
I'm going to talk about the Cubs.
All right, before you get to your topic, 1/3 of the season pretty much gone. Give me your guidance. Guide me as to what you see in the second 1/3, the next 54, the middle coming up here.
Well, what I see is the Cubs getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get healthy, they're going to start winning because they really do have the best talent in the division when they're healthy.
So,
and I really think that the political statement, stay the course for the Cubs, is what they really need to do.
So your guidance for the next 1/3, the middle 1/3, is that you don't look back at the last 1/3 necessarily to give guidance for the next 1/3. It could be radically different either way, and you have it radically different, I believe, to the good.
That's correct.
All right. And I know you called in before I grilled you and quizzed you on the 1/3. What'd you have for us, Hugh?
I tell you what, I'm 50 years old, and I've been in and around watching baseball, playing baseball, coaching, managing Little League, umpiring. I have never, ever in my life seen a player intentionally walked, had 2 strikes on him. Why would you do that? The guy's got 2 strikes on him. It's a full count. What you do is you throw a waste pitch, you throw a pitch out of the zone, hoping he'll chase it, or hoping maybe the umpire will ring him up on a close pitch. You never, ever walk a player with 2 strikes on him.
All right, we're going back to the 10th inning last night. The Braves were up, scores tied, of course. First and third, 2 out. They had just walked Chipper with a man on third and 2 out to put first and third on the corners, correct?
Yeah.
Now, the catcher McCann was up. And I don't have it as a 2-strike count. I believe that he was, and this was something that Brenly before the at-bat said, boy, you know what? Brenly said, he never as a manager liked to have a young pitcher. In this case, it was Guzman. Nibble, just flat out give him the intentional walk. Now, I know that he ran the count to at least 3 balls before they wiggled the 4 fingers, stand up for the intentional. Jay Zawaski, see if you can root around there on play-by-play. I don't believe it was a 3-2 count, but I could be wrong. But I watched that game here. I don't think it was 3-2 when they issued the semi or the intentional walk.
Well, yeah, if I remember correctly, the sound bits that I've heard said full count, 3-2, you know.
All right.
And here comes the base hit. And the other
no, you said the intentional walk.
Well, the other thing they're talking about is...
well, the Chipper Jones, the walk-off.
Well, Chipper Jones, his batting average, his on-base percentage against Heilman, they say, well, it's 600.
Well, Brenly said before he got in the plate he was like 6'12". Appreciate the call. Jay, am I losing my mind? Didn't he originally say the intentional walk on it with 2 strikes? What he meant?
Yes, he did.
What he was, because they did intentionally walk in the 10th inning after throwing 3 bad pitches. He's talking about why, and of course that is the topic of the day. Appreciate the heads up. Why it was Lou Piniella's worst game of the year. There's no doubt it was Lou Piniella's worst game as a Cubs manager. Number 1, Randy Wells, 83 pitches. Now, I know the town of Atlanta is also known as Hotlanta. Last night it must have been too Hotlanta. Because why? Was it too hot for Randy Wells to continue pitching? It was unbelievable to take Randy Wells out of the game. Here's a guy who had a no-hitter into 2 out in the 7th inning. Gives up a base hit, which I got some great emails on. Why was Fontenot not playing deeper on that base hit when Chipper Jones is not the type of guy that's going to, drop a bunt down anyway, overall, Lou Piniella's... See, the great thing about Lou, that I've always been 100% behind Lou Piniella, is that he usually, always has been a terrific in-game manager. Well, you know what? I don't like everything he does outside the game, the 21 hours other than the 3 hours of the game, the way that his team reacts, the way that he constructs lineups. But you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say Lou Piniella doesn't know how to build a lineup. That's Lou's job. I'm not going to sit here and say Lou Piniella should start the Hoff more often. That's Lou's job. I'm not here to say anything about the managers putting together the lineup other than, as a fan, that's our right to say it. But when Lou Piniella last night makes multiple mistakes in game, that's what you have Lou Piniella for. And we're going to talk in a few minutes. If you want to go back in your mind about a year and a half ago, Chicago Bulls, January 13th, 2008. Remember what happened with Joakim Noah? And do you remember what happened when the Bulls veteran guard Adrian Griffin made a statement after something that occurred between Noah and assistant coach Ron Adams? Is that ringing a bell? Suspension, team votes. Let me say this. The Chicago Cubs, 24 players right now, 25 players, other than Zambrano. I'll be stunned if they're not having a players' vote right now. And Paul Sullivan led me to this in the Tribune today. Let's get back to the phones. 1/3. Give me some guidance. Sox fans, your third baseman made the big air last night. Cub fans, in the million other things that went wrong, the first baseman for the Cubs flat dropped a throw from Terrio, which opened up the floodgates. I know what you're going to say. Marmol's got to get out of the inning. Greg can't throw that fastball to Francoeur. I know what you're going to say. Heilman spit the bit. I know all that. But your first baseman has to catch a throw from Ryan Terrio instead of flat dropping it and opening up the floodgates. First error of the year, first official error of the year. Don't be calling me and telling me, hey, come on, Murph, D. Lee's a Gold Glover. Hadn't been a Gold Glover for 3 years. First error of the year, yeah, technically, statistically, it was his first error of the year. He's dropped many balls this year. Many balls, and we've documented them all year, not second-guessing here. Gary from Streamwood is next on the score. Hello, Gary.
Hey, Murph.
Gary, I don't even know where to start. 83 pitches. You take out Randy Wells. Maybe it was too hot Lanta last night. The kid didn't look like he was sweating to me.
No, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention. First of all, it's going to be Gary from Pingree Grove in another week.
Oh! Hey, fellas, make a note of that for Gary from Streamwood. Still put Gary from Streamwood in parentheses so I know it's our guy.
And,
yeah.
You know, you asked if all losses are the same. I mean, the White Sox lost. They lost to a rookie pitcher. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. The Cubs loss was just devastating, and it was indicative of the way they've screwed things up all year. And as far as my prognosis, I see 500 for the next third of the season.
Well,
I don't see them coming out of this. I just see too many mistakes, too many injuries, too many guys, and Kevin Gregg is not a closer.
What about that pitch? How about after, I don't know if you stuck with it. Many people probably turned off the TV. But after a break, stick around by the radio, Gary. You're going to hear Bob Brenly. And I guess you could call it a second guess. You didn't first guess, like Steve Stone does so well. But after the pitch, he talks about, couldn't believe the pitch that Kevin Gregg's a veteran. He's supposed to be the guy that doesn't make the big mistake when the game's on the line.
Right.
Hey, Gary, good luck on your move, buddy.
Okay, thanks, Murph.
Appreciate it very much. And if you want to make a move insurance-wise, Vuk is on your side. I've been telling you about Jeff Vukovich for years and years. Murph's Nationwide Insurance Agent of the Year, Jeff Vukovich, for all your insurance needs. Park Ridge, family guy, solid as a rock, loves sports. Vukovich. Everyone on hold. Get right back to you. Next time you hear a hawkaroo, between now and 2, be the first caller to our contest line. Pair of Sox tickets for Wednesday, June 10. Hey, Jay, should I give the contest phone number or reward all our long-time...
Yeah, don't give the number. No
right.
number today. No
All
number
right.
today.
For our long-time loyal listeners, reward them. All right, you know the number. Swami Murph says, you know the number.
By the way, Murph, that game is June 10th versus the Tigers, 7-11 p.m.
Gotcha. Thank you, Jay Zawalski. Back in a flash, Murph-a-Palooza Sports Radio, 670. It's the score. Oh, Brenly. We'll hear Brenly when we come back. Sox fans, is it a coincidence to lose, to have bad outings against 8 pitchers you've never seen before, to have a record of 1-5, with only their earned run average 1.57? Question, baseball fans, is it just random walk, luck of the draw coincidence? Or why do the White Sox have a problem scoring runs, documented, against first-time pitchers they've never faced before? We'll talk about that, too. It's the score. I told you about Wilson Betterman.
The 2-1 pitch. There's a deep drive. It's Reed Johnson on the warning track, and this game is tied as Frank Coor just took Greg out of the park, and Randy Wells again will get a no decision. My goodness. Frank Coor has tied it up. It's 5-5. What a shame that is.
Oh, shame indeed. I mean, that pitch is belt high right down the middle of the plate against an aggressive free swinger behind in the count. The worst possible place you could throw that fastball. Right in the middle of Jeff Francour's swing.
All right, highlights there. Lowlights, good on WGN TV. Bobby Brenly saying it all. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, man on first. Francour jumps on a 92-mile-an-hour. Remember in Little League, the T-ball? Put it right on the tee. Couldn't have been any better. How can a veteran like Kevin Gregg, we're not talking about when dropping a ball at first like Derek Lee. We're not talking about Wilson Betterman at third base, not able to bend over for a little two-hopper that your Little League son would have picked up last night in the Sox game. Derek Lee dropping that ball, the floodgates open, unbelievable. We're talking about a guy who's been around the block, who's a highly paid closer in the National League, and the one pitch that he shouldn't throw, and certainly not there, he does. I know it's not easy. Maybe he wasn't trying to put it on the tee. You wouldn't think so. It's unbelievable. Worst Cubs loss of the season. Lou Piniella, just terrible. In game, Lou's always been a guy that I've found usually a step ahead of the other manager. This game last night, 83 pitches, and you yank him? You yank Randy Wells? You don't intentionally walk Chipper Jones in the bottom of the 12th inning? Bottom of the 12th inning. And you got man on second. 1 out. And he decides, Lou Piniella, to pitch to Chipper Jones. It's not as if it was second and third, 1 out, and if you intentionally walk him, then you're afraid that Heilman's going to walk in to run. It was just a man on second, thanks to that stolen base, or wild pitch, whatever the hell it was. Lou Piniella lost that game as much as anybody last night, and that's not why you're paying this guy $3.5 million. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see. Where do we go next? Bob and McHenry, Jim, Dustin, Keith, Larry, Mike, Jim, everybody on hold. I'll get to you. Hello, Roberto, Bob and McHenry.
Hey, Mike.
I don't know where to start. You tell me.
Well, I don't know either. Well, you brought up a couple of good points. But one thing I wanted to bring up is what is the one word you always hear associated with Milton Bradley? And the word is baggage. Well, I think I speak for you, and I know I speak for most Cub fans when I say we don't need no stinking baggage. Okay?
Yeah. Well, that's nicely done. The problem is, it's not a quickly correctable problem. I understand your frustration.
Yeah.
What can be done? I don't have all the answers right now.
What, based on his 2006 numbers, bring back Chuck Jones for God. Jones is...
let's not get crazy now. Hold on.
No, I'll get crazy.
You're getting delusional. You're getting... You're panicking. You're panicking, Bob.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
No, Bob's not crazy. He's just a good fan.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah.
But did you see who Pinella blew up at last night? Marmol.
Yes.
He picks on Marmol. Why doesn't he get in Soto's face for letting that ball get past him? It would have been, that would have
third strike.
Ultimately, because it would have been and then hands his stone over at first base.
Well, dropping that ball.
Was that Fred McGriff at first last night?
Well, you know what? It's lost. I'm glad you point these two plays out, McHenry, Bob. And I'm going to take some more calls. I'm jammed up here, but thanks for those two observations. Thanks. Now, we've talked a little bit about the Derek Lee play. Now, I don't want to look like I'm just pounding on one guy, because they all deserve it. Lou deserves it. And Jim Hendry, he's right now got to figure out how to make some changes with or without a checkbook, which may or may not be easy. You have to also assume that in the wintertime, Hendry was told by somebody that he would have a checkbook. So not to make excuses, not to have a sympathy party, because no one needs that. But you have to assume that if the PB trade was ready to be orchestrated in the winter, that he had been told, intimated, under the table, be it from Ricketts or from Crane, Kenny, or whoever, that there would be a checkbook. Now the checkbook's not there, so you have to be even more agile. Now, the throw to Derek Lee, and here's where little things can get easily lost in the shuffle. Derek Lee, in the bottom of the eighth inning, after Randy Wells had just given up the leadoff homer, Garrett Anderson, that made it 5-1. Cubs are still up 5-1. He's only thrown 80 pitches. It's the eighth inning. He's got a two-hitter with one run. You got a 5-1 lead. There's a routine ground ball to Terrio by Prado, the first and right-handed hitter. Routine ground ball to short. Terrio throws it over, and it's not in the dirt. It's about ankle high. Replays will also show that D-Lee didn't even stretch for the ball. He sort of fielded it as if he were Hobby Bullen trying to protect the 5-hole. Jay Zawoski, you're a hockey guy. You saw the play. Is that about how you explain it?
Yeah, he was almost straddling the bag and tried to catch it between his legs.
Right, like Hobby in the 5-hole.
Right, he was not playing first base, that's for sure.
All right, clunk, E3. Now, I know that shouldn't be the game. They're still up 5-1. Now you bring in Marmol. Why? Only Lou will know. And Marmol stuck. But there's another good observation just now, that why does Lou ream out in front of the camera in the dugout? Maybe he reams them all out, and the camera only caught the Marmol. And how about Paul Sullivan today? Headline, Zambrano in trouble again after missing flight. 5 days after receiving a 6-game suspension from the league, Carlos Zambrano found himself in hot water again on Tuesday. This time, Zambrano was in trouble with Cubs management and his teammates, not MLB, because now listen to this. He blew off the Cubs airplane flight to Atlanta Monday. Remember, the Cubs had an off day Monday, Sunday night game with the Dodgers, slept in their own bed Sunday. They were going to fly then to Atlanta Monday to be there a day in advance. That's the MLB rule for the Tuesday game last night. Now, he blows that flight off. But I want to read again what I just read quickly. Did you catch what Paul Sullivan wrote? You have to remember this. When these writers write these things, it's very, very scripted in their mind. Quote from Paul Sullivan. This time Zambrano was in trouble with Cubs management and his teammates. Now, Sully didn't have to throw in that phrase, and his teammates, did he? But he did. We'll cover that and more. Back in a flash. Hey, what if Ricketts drops out of this whole thing? No one's talking about that. What if Ricketts just says, you know what? I don't need this, Mr. Zell. Go find yourself another guy. Sports Radio 670. It's Murph, driven to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com. Fan talk.
Here's Murph.
Hey, Whip, you got one more minute?
I think I do. All
right. Not a bad outing by Randy Wells, huh?
A very good outing.
A no-hitter with 2 out in the 7th, which was actually a perfect game, but this Escobar, the batter, the ball hits his bat, and he pretends like it hits him in the head. You know what I would do tonight if I'm Lou Piniella, if it doesn't affect the game?
Actually hit him in the head so that he can see if he stands and hit his bat?
Well, not in his head, but I'd drill him somewhere where it hurts.
Yes.
You know, a guy like Ed Farmer, you listen to when Eddie, a pitcher, and Eddie Farmer, I'm sure I'm quoting Eddie, if I'm not Eddie, phone in. Eddie has often said, hey, you know what? If a guy fakes being hit by a pitch when I'm pitching and he goes down to first, the next time, He must have wanted to get hit so bad, I'll really give it to him.
I think a lot of pitchers probably feel that way,
Yeah.
Murph.
Now, it was good gamesmanship by this guy. You know, but to lay there, like, holding your helmet like you've been drilled into being, you know.
Well, another example of that, do you remember Lance Berkman back in 04 with the Cubs? I believe the bases were loaded. It was a game at Wrigley Field, an important game down the stretch. And Lance Berkman's ball never touched him at all. And he laid there for a good couple of minutes. They came out. They looked at all that stuff. And after the game, he's like, well, it felt like it hit me. Something hit me.
I'll give you one more. How about the next inning, Bob Brenly and the crew? What a great job last night, Channel 9. They replayed just before the pitch was thrown. You know what Escobar was doing in the batter's box? He was what they call peeking at the catcher.
And that is a no-no and a half.
Now, he wasn't peeking to steal a sign, 1-2, fastball, curveball. All you want to do is sneak down a peek and see if the catcher's lined up on the outer half of the plate or the inner half, and boom. Now you can, as Hawk would say, keyhole.
Yes.
As Hawk would say, keyhole.
Gummit.
So, that was a little context.
I hear you.
I know you do. Now, I'm going to replay this. Listen to what Bob Brenly, the camera caught Escobar peeking. He saw Soto. See, the Cubs outfoxed him. The Cubs had Soto lined up on the outside corner, and they intentionally threw the ball on the inside corner, knowing that he was sneaking a peek. See what I mean?
That's a good idea.
Oh, it's a real good idea. Let's listen to Bob Brenly.
The only base runner for the Braves, a hit by pitch to shortstop Yunel Escobar, which didn't hit him. It hit his bat, but that's beside the point. Watch his eyes. This is what you call peeking. Yunel Escobar assumes his stance. He looks out of the corner of his eye to see if he can see Giovanni Soto set up on that outside corner. Gives you a little better idea of what pitch is likely to come. Well, that's one way to combat a guy that's peeking. You have your catcher set up on the outside corner and throw a fastball up and in. I'm not saying that's what happened in that particular instance, but if you suspect a player of peeking to where the catcher is set up, that's one way to deter it rather quickly. Have your catcher move way out on the outside corner and then throw a fastball inside.
Well, there you go.
That's a good idea no matter what, I think, to throw a pitch somewhere that the catcher isn't setting up, because I feel like guys might also have a sixth sense sometimes, even without peeking. Well, it seems to me if there's a guy that close, you might be able to sense if he's outside or inside.
You can listen to his, listen and hear if the feet are near you. A man leading off second base. It's tough to steal the 1-1, 2-1, 3, pinky finger out, what's the pitch. But if they can transmit the runner on second to the batter, not electronically yet, but that day may come, that the pitcher's in or out. And they do it very easily. When you're leading off second base, if you cross your left leg like over your right leg as you're leading off towards third,
all kinds of little things you can do,
But if you just do a shuffle leadoff where your legs, feet never cross, that maybe means inside or outside, depending. So what Randy Wells does is perfect. They set him up, knowing that he's looking down. They're going to stick it to him. They bring it up and in. It hits his bat, and the son of a gun, he lays on the ground like he's hitting in the helmet. I'd drill his ass.
So Yunel Escobar has something coming to him tonight.
Well,
that's the bottom line.
Eddie Farmer would, I know that.
Hey, didn't Lilly have something with the Braves, I think, a couple of years ago?
And they threw him out of the game in the first inning.
So it's all set up, Murph. It's all set up.
Man, you got a pretty good memory there, Whip. Hey, by the way, remember this. For the big HVAC piping jobs, the sophisticated work around Chicago, thetowngroup.com, they do it right. The white trucks, red stripes, my guys! West Town and North Town, Southwest Town and Northwest Town. Big jobs, thetowngroup.com. Evergreen Park Gym. Hello, James.
Murph, how are you?
Good, Jim. We got a lot on the platter, thanks to you and everyone on hold right there. Go ahead, my friend.
Absolutely. Hey, my point is, and my guidance for the next 54 games is kind of looking back at the first 54 and kind of looking ahead as well. And that basically is similar to Gary and Streamwood, is about 500, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse. I don't think it's going to fall apart because I think the guys they still have in the starting pitching is good enough and they're talented enough to kind of hold water. But, my biggest thing is that they're not going to be any better without any leadership. Like you said, Lou maybe on the field, and that's even been questionable lately, but the 21 other hours of the day, he's got to show some leadership, and they have absolutely no leadership from the players whatsoever. You can talk about injuries, you can talk about the bullpen, imploding. Somebody needs to step up and start to produce, and I just don't see it. Nobody does it verbally, and nobody does it by their actions whatsoever.
Hey,
so I think they're just going to be about 500, Murph.
Jim, a little foreshadow for 1 o'clock, and you're sort of sniffing around this now, so stay on the line with me. Maybe you want to jump in early right here. Back about a year and a half ago, the Chicago Bulls, not this season, last season, January, here's the report, reading it again. Chicago Bulls rookie Joakim Noah was benched by his teammates. Now, remember this, the team voted that the one-game suspension for his insubordination, remember interim coach Jim Boylan back then, remember him?
Yep.
Sure. Remember, he suspended Noah for 1 game because there was some altercation in the practice with the coach Adams, Ron Adams. The players, here's the key, Jim. The players voted on their own that was not severe enough, and they wanted a 1 more game, in other words, 2-game suspension for Noah. John Paxson held up and did that. Noah said, hey, if that's what my teammates want. Here's my question to 1 o'clock, Jim. You can get us rolling a little bit. Would you not think it's appropriate with Zambrano missing a team flight Monday, missing it? Sometimes reports it was his birthday, but that's neither here nor there, but he missed the flight. Would you think it would be out of bounds for the 24, 25 other Cubs to have a vote on their own and then say to Jim Hendry, we have voted to suspend him? After this suspension's up, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever. Would you think that out of line?
I wouldn't think it's out of line at all, Murph, because I think, what that really shows is I understand he's suspended, but whether it was his birthday or whatever, unless it was a major family issue, it shows no regard and total disrespect for the other 24 guys. So they definitely have a right to do it. And like I said, I don't think Lou, except he had a 5-minute meeting with him, I don't think Lou or Hendry's going to do anything. They've enabled this guy his whole career, so somebody's got to step up and do it.
Right.
Again, you miss another start for him, but maybe it turns around and there's some type of chemistry and some type of, leadership developed there.
Now, and then we'll let you go. But, Jim, one last thing with you. Would you think that Jim Hendry and Lou Piniella, do you think they will suspend Zambrano for missing a team flight? As Paul Sullivan writes today, Zambrano is in trouble with the management and his teammates. Sully would not write that unless he had talked, in my opinion, Sully would not write that unless he had talked to some Cub players and could go on the record in the Tribune to say in trouble. What would you suggest as the penalty or suspension, more than money, that you would want to see, that you should see from Lou and Jim Hendry on this?
Murph, I think they should suspend him 1 more start, but I think they'll end up just fining him.
So, in other words, 5-6 more days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Murph.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it very much. And do we have our winner there, Jay Zawoski, for our White Sox tickets? Thank you for everyone for dialing in when you heard.
Steve from North Aurora won the Sox tickets.
Away, Steve. Congratulations, pair of Sox tickets. When we return, we'll get right back to the phones, and we'll be sure to pepper in Sox fans. I'm keeping a couple lines open for you. Cub fans have commandeered the phones. 1/3 guidance, 1/3. The season's 1/3 over. Sox fans, Cub fans, what's your guidance, as they say on Wall Street, for the next 1/3? And when would be the best time to bring up Beckham? Sox fans, he's now tearing up AAA. Gordon Beckham, when would be the perfect time to bring up Gordon Beckham? Sports Radio 670 is the score. Sorry, Kenny, we don't want to get in White Sox business, but we're going to anyway. Driven to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com.
First pitch swinging and grounded it to third is Cunningham. Betterman boots it.
Ups.
It's an error on the third baseman. Bases loaded. Here's Holiday on the pitch.
That's no
Swing
good.
A line drive deep right field. Guy running back onto the track, reaches up. It's over his head. 1 run comes.
1.
Second run crosses.
2.
Here comes the third, and
3.
the throw not in time. Bases clearing double, and the A's jump to a 5-0 lead here in the 5th on a double by Holiday.
Well, that'll happen when you got Wilson Betterman as your 25th man. Cologne only trailing at the time, 5th inning. Highlights there courtesy of the score. That's us. trailing 2-0, top of the fifth inning, leadoff boot. He didn't even boot it. It was one of the worst efforts you'll ever see for a fielder trying to go after a ball. Wilson Bedimit, who for some inexplicable reason was brought north on April 6th or whatever. And, you know, anyone who knows the game knows that he's not the type of guy that's usually going to have. See, your 25th man, this is just Murph speaking. Your 25th man, think about, or your 53rd man in football, or, you know, your 12th man in the NBA or whatever. How many in hockey there, Jay? You're like the 18th guy you dress every day. See, what you want from your 25th, your 18th, or 53rd, or your 12th guy is, you know, they're never going to win a game for you. Just don't lose a game for us. Horse out of the barn there, and you heard the bases loaded. Double knocked in 3 for Holiday. Lou's worst game as a Cubs manager, certainly this year. Yanks Randy Wells after 83. Does not issue an intentional walk to the veteran Chipper Jones. Let's go back to the phones, and Joliet Mike's on the score. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Murph, what's going on?
Hey,
how are you?
Well, fine, Mike. There's so many things to cover, and I've been babbling here, so you babble.
Oh, you never babble, Murph. It's always good radio.
Thank you.
Hey, you know, we're talking about the next 54 games.
Yeah.
I'm going to look on the bright side of things. I know the weather's going to be heating up, and I think that our offense for the Cubs are going to be heating up too. You know, you see Derek Lee actually starting to hit the ball with authority for once.
Well, yeah, what he's doing is, and great hitters will tell you this, he's going to right center now with long flyouts. Now, in the old days, he'd drive, and he did hit one over to, out of the park, but that's usually the sign that then they'll drive to center and they'll start driving to left center. So hopefully what you point out, there's out to be guidance for the second third of the season. Up against the clock. Appreciate the call, Mike, as we break. Oaklawn Tom wanted to jump in. It's Murph. Tom, hello.
Hey, Murph, how you doing?
Good, Tom. I know you got a counterpoint, which I love, but I do only have 1 minute, so go ahead. What do you want a counterpoint?
I just want to say, rather than adding a full game for every position back, try a half game. Because the way the Sox picked up so much ground so fast on that, I almost think a half game after the first place, you know, after your second place, and you start going to third.
Well, total games behind. They were as far as 12 back. Back on May 18th, 12 total games behind. And there was a day in fourth place where they won, and the 3 above them all lost. And they did leap them from 12 total back to 9 total back. You have to have those big leaps because the number is so much larger. I think we're sort of agreeing on the same thing, but I will look to fine-tune it for you. Okay, Tom?
All right, thanks, Murph.
All right, buddy. 644-6767 for the first time an open line. Jump in quickly. Sports Radio 670, Murph-a-Palooza. Guest-free phones, fans talking to fans. You're the guest. Hey, one more second there, Sparky.
Sure.
Great cut you just played. That was Pods in your update there, I believe.
Yep.
Talking about 8 time this year the Sox have faced a first time against them, pitcher they've never seen before. They are 1-5. The ERA for those 8 pitchers in those games, 1.57. And one of my yellow pad topics was going to be, is this a coincidence? Random walk theory that these things happen?
Sure.
Or is it something bigger that Sox, Ozzie and Greg Walker should be, what's wrong with us? And I believe in that cut. If Jay, did you have that racked up also?
I got it here. Okay.
No, yeah. Well, Brian, hit that again. I believe did he use the word coincidence?
Yes, he did.
Okay, good. Let's hear it.
And hold on, I'm playing it, but nothing's happening because.
I guess you could call
there
it
you go.
coincidence. I don't know.
There it was. Okay.
He kept us all balanced.
All right.
Good stuff.
All right, good. Yeah. Coincidence. Sox fans, baseball fans, is it a coincidence when 8 times you've faced a pitcher for the first time and you've yet to cash in, 1 win, 5 losses. Is that a coincidence? Lack of scouting, advanced scouting? I don't know the answer. What do you think? Is this Greg Walker's turn, finally? Sox fans also, I'd like you to join the party. Tearing it up down, thank you, Brian Peruke. Tearing it up down at AAA. Gordon Beckham, question to you, Sox fans. When would be the best time, if there is such a thing, to bring up Gordon Beckham? You can rest assured of one thing. They're not going to just bring him up until they think it through, plan it through, strategize it through. When would be the maybe not till September 1st. When would be the optimum time, Sox fans, to bring up Gordon Beckham? Is coincidence more than anything to blame, if that's the right word, for the Sox bad outings against the 8 first-time pitchers that they faced, 644-6767. And Cub fans, I like your reaction now. I'd like you to help me out. All right, the facts are Zambrano blows off the team flight to Atlanta Monday. Zambrano was in trouble with his teammates. That's the statement by Paul Sullivan today in the Tribune. So, what would be the appropriate, tell you what, you be Jim Hendry, you be Lou Piniella. What would be a proper punishment, if any, it's up to you, a proper punishment for Carlos Zambrano blowing off the team flight and now being in trouble with his teammates? And remember, money will have no effect. So you can fine him all you want. It ain't going to bother him. And there's a basic agreement with the union that there are fixed ceilings of very, very small nominal, small to them, $1,000 fine, $5,000 fine to them.
We're sunk and we'll have to pay through the nose, and you know it.
Well, maybe you want to be creative. How would you punish El Toro Loco?
Hey, Mike Murphy fan.
Love my emailers.
Email Murph your comments and questions. Go to 670thescore.com, click personalities, then click on Murph's face.
That's how you do it. Catfish Craig. Murph, I can't believe it. I'm watching Randy Wells throw a no-hitter, and the Cubs are leading 5-0. And before you know it, I'm sitting home here right now, Murph. It's 5-5. Marmol and Greg both blanked their pants against the Braves. It's over now. The game has ended. Lou proves he can't manage. First base open. He pitches to Chipper Jones. Here's Sox fan Joshua from Sapanos Paint Company. Emails Murph. Sox fan here. Why is Bedamit? Why is he allowed on a major league playing surface or a roster other than to cut the grass for the sod father?
Oh, that's not funny.
And why can't the White Sox hit a rookie pitcher? Joshua, the first question, why is Bedamit allowed on the playing surface? I don't know. Number 2, why can't they hit a rookie pitcher? I don't know. Cub fan Jacek Kazabski, hope I pronounced that right, Jacek. Murph, I'm watching my beloved Cubs blow another quality start by Randy Wells. The poor kid is snake bitten. What the heck's going on with Marmol and Greg? Let me tell you. Well, you couldn't be more correct. The kid's had 5 terrific outings. Randy Wells, the bullpen stinks up the joint last night. The least stinky of all was Aaron Heilman, and he didn't have a very good run. But how about coming in? See, Marmol in the 8th, Greg in the 9th, it don't matter. Cub fans, does it matter if it's Greg in the 8th, Marmol in the 9th last night, 8th, 9th, 9th, 8th? It doesn't matter. Marmol can't find home plate, and Greg lays it in there on a tee. So if you had Greg in the 8th, he'd have laid it in on the tee, and then Marmol in the 9th, he'd have walked or hit the ballpark. Love my emailers. A couple more here. Get right to the phones. Let's see. Here we got from Elgin. SS is his handle. Cub fan SS Murph. I read this a little bit. The Cubs should go to an old circus or carnival company, buy one of those hammer and bell attractions. You know the ones. They should then replace all the numbers as the hammer knocks it up towards the bell. Replace the numbers with words like, I'm PO'd, I'm really PO'd, I'm terribly PO'd. Ding! Gonna kill somebody. Cub fan SS. And, here's my guy. Hadn't heard from Wally, the retired cop from the Northwest Side in a long time. Murph, why couldn't the kid finish? Randy Wells. Lou overmanaged again. If a solid hit had knocked him out of the game, fine. It was an error at first by our, quote, ex-Gold Glove first baseman.
Oh, that's not funny.
Then he brings in Mr. No Control and Mr. Gopher Ball to finish off the 8th and the 9th inning. And by the way, Murph, and this is the key. This is the greatest thing that Wally, the retired cop, has ever emailed. Would last year's Gio Soto, the thin model, been able to move quicker and block that 3rd strike? Nicely done on my emailers. And what do you know? He's calling in. It's Wally, the retired Chicago cop. Hello, Walter.
Hey, Murph, how you doing?
I'm fine. Just read your email. I saw you on hold right there. Wally, always great. You broke this down perfectly. Lou overmanaged again. It wasn't a solid hit that knocked Randy Wells out. Derek Lee dropping the throw over to begin the beginning of the end. Then he puts in Marmol and Greg. He really has no option. I mean, those are his guys. But why didn't he stay with Randy Wells, Walter?
I don't know. I just don't understand. The kid was total control on the mound. He didn't lose his head. He didn't do his Zambrano on the mound. The kid should have finished the game, Murph. I thought of one more PS to my email, by the way.
Sure.
How many years was Bobby Scales in our minors?
Well, he's been a minor leaguer for 10 years. He's jumped around baseball, but yes.
All right, if he had spent 10 years in the Twins minor league system, would he have known how to lay down a darn bunt?
That was, you know what? When you're right. You're right again, Walter. When you're a 31-year-old journeyman or whatever his age is, and you can't lay off a high fastball to be ready for the pitch that you can handle, or you know what, a journeyman like that, he should be able to lay down a high fastball sack bunt. I know it's difficult, but that's what a guy like that has to be able to do to make it to the big leagues.
Exactly. And as for Big Z, if I'm Hendry, I'm on the phone with Toronto to see what they'll give us for him. They're still in their race, and that way he'd get less bang for his buck up in Canada.
Well, I don't know that we want to try to harm him financially, but he's certainly harming a lot of other things. Walter,
one more thing.
Sure.
How about an old-fashioned blanket party like we used to do in the Army? Throw a blanket over his head, or how about a Gatorade jug and let everybody hit it with a bat in the dugout?
I said from the beginning that Gatorade dispenser should have been camouflage paint, not bright orange. Hey, Wally, I hope all is well. Thank you, my friend.
Same to you, my friend.
All right. Now, Jay Zawoski found this cut. This is from approximately 30 days ago. We visited down on the farm, we call it, with the Chicago Cubs AAA radio man, voice of the Iowa Cubs, Dean Ellis. He's been there for years, and we have discovered that he is a terrific scout, an advanced scout. His job is not to scout, it's to do the play-by-play, but he's nice enough to come on. Last month, what was the date here? May 7th. Randy Wells was getting ready to start his first game with the Cubs. They had just called him up. And Dean Ellis, now this is a scouting report that was a month ago prior to the 5 lights-out starts for Randy Wells. Let's listen. Let's go back 1 month. He'll be the Cubs starter Friday against the Brewers. What can you tell us about Randy Wells?
He's done a real good job for us in 5 starts. He's had 3 wins, 2 no decisions. He throws 88, 90 for a fastball. He has a very good changeup. He's developed a sinker the last couple of years. The fans might remember the Cubs lost him in the Rule 5 before last season, before the 08 season to Toronto. And he began the season with the Blue Jays, and all of a sudden they offered him back to Chicago after one appearance in Toronto. But he worked a lot with like Roy Halladay, speaks highly of Halladay, and he helped him develop a sinker. And he's a guy that throws strikes, has a very good knowledge. He has that pitch ability, and I think he can keep the Cubs in the game and be effective and good insurance for them down here.
You know what? I thought that scouting report was Pollyanna, pie in the sky. Let me tell you, this kid Randy Wells, who was in the big leagues last year, the Rule 5 deal, and then Toronto sent him back, so he's a longtime Cub guy, and what a minor league call-up from the Cubs farm system right there. This Hour of the Score brought to you by Menards. Let's get back to the phones. Hey, is that Square Toe Frank?
Yeah, Murph. Hey, it's good. I finally got a chance to call in and say hi.
Oh, it's great to hear from Square Toe Frank in Lombard. Give it to me, Frank.
Well, I was just thinking about why those White Sox hitters are not going too good against the rookie pitchers.
Uh-huh.
I believe in my heart they're thinking too much.
Thinking too much, huh?
That's right. A good hitter is going to sit there and watch every pitch that the guy does. I remember Ted Williams saying that when he never ran into a rookie, he always watched everything he did. And by the second time he faced him, he had him figured out.
Hey, Frankie, I remember back at high school, Lyons Township, LaGrange, one of my teachers said, Murphy, are you thinking? I go, yeah, I'm thinking. He goes, hey, don't do things that you're not very good at.
Oh, no, that wouldn't have been you, buddy. That wouldn't have been you.
Squirt Toe Frank in Lombard. Stay in touch. Always great to hear from you.
You bet. Have a good show, buddy.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. Hey, I'll tell you something else. You gotta see Jack.com. Best time in your lifetime. Think about it. It is to buy a brand new Chevrolet. Jack Phelan Chevrolet. Jack Phelan, Johnny Phelan, J.C. Phelan. Good guys right there. Harlem Avenue in Lyons, just off Ogden Avenue. You gotta see Jack.com. Minutes from Hinsdale, LaGrange, Western Springs, Burr Ridge, and Indian Head Park. Back in a flash. Everyone on hold. We'll get right back to you. And What would your punishment be if you were Lou Piniella, Jim Hendry, to Carlos Zambrano? What would get his attention? Attention, please.
Attention. Attention, please.
What would get his attention, please? Remember what Dave Van Dyke said on the Score earlier this week? I'll tell you when we return about Zambrano. Welcome back. Murph with it 2, driven to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com. Busy day, unfortunately, talking about 2 losses. Are all losses equal? Are they all created equally? I know the word's equal, but in this case, are they all losses created equal? In other words, the Sox lose 5-0. The Cubs were up 5-0. They blow a 5-run lead. Do all losses hurt the same? At the end of the season, they're all equal as far as your wins and your losses. You look back, you go, oh, man, if we had just won. See, that's the thing. You look back at the end of the year. If we had just one more time, one more victory, what and how would that have affected everything? Don't forget the Bulls back in 2 years ago when Joakim Noah had a confrontation with assistant coach Ron Adams. The Bulls, interim coach Jim Boylan, suspended him for 1 game. The players voted that was not enough, their own little vote, an internal vote by the players, and they said, you know what, 2 games would be better. And John Paxson and Boylan accepted that, as did Joakim Noah. So we'll also ask you, you be Jim Hendry, you be Lou Piniella, what would your punishment be to Big Z, Zambrano, for blowing off a team flight, now in trouble, according to the Tribune, with his teammates? And Dave Van Dyke, remember what Dave Van Dyke said on the Score earlier this week or late last week regarding Zambrano and his temperament and his emotions? Dave Van Dyke, or DVD as I think we should call him, Dave Van Dyke, he capsulized it great. He synopsized it great. What he said was, he ain't never going to change. He ain't never going to change. Well, if he ain't never going to change, why would you bother punishing him? Why do you usually punish someone, reprimand them, so that what, hopefully they change? If Vandy's right, DVD's right, he ain't never going to change, I'll give you another thought. I don't think that Ricketts is going to buy this club now. You see, not to get off the track here, the phones are jammed, but all I know is this. When someone buys a sports franchise, a group or a guy or whatever, majority partner, minority partner, whoever, when you're involved in buying a franchise, in the past 100 years, the main way that you're going to make money was simple. You would break even every year and then have a big-ass appreciation of the value of your franchise over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and you sell it for buku bucks. That's how you made the money. Now, in our economic climate, there is no guarantee any longer that you will ride that appreciation pony up to the stars. Now the way that you would, if you're going to buy a team, say the Cubs, that you're going to make money is to find new sources of revenue, specifically internet, TV, radio, and find new sources of income there. If it's, from what we hear, that Ricketts is not able to unravel from Zell TV rights, radio rights to his approval, he ain't going to buy this team. Now, the other thing, Hendry thought that he could make the deal money-wise into winter for Peavy. Probably thought that he could also do this into May, June, or July. That appears to be long gone. The rules have changed. Had those rules stayed in effect, you know what if you think about would have been great? You trade for Peavy now. You have Peavy and Zambrano through the end of the season, and then you trade Zambrano at the end of the season, even if you have to take a little haircut off of his dough yourself. Let's go back to the phone lines, and holding has been Trucker Keith. Hello, Trucker Keith.
Hey, Murphy, I haven't talked to you since you and Stoney went out to Lamont. I saw you there.
One of the highlights of my radio career, among many others.
You know, you just mentioned a thing, and it brought to my mind was it's going to hurt the confidence level of the Cubs when with the loss, I think. But that's not my point. My point was they kept showing Lou when the relief pitchers were having their meltdown last night. He's walking, sitting down, walking back and forth, right? Yeah. And one time when he sat down, I noticed on the bench a couple seats down from him there was a book, and it looked like it said Stats Incorporated on it.
Oh yeah, it was.
And he's got these tools. That's another segment, but he's got these tools he's not even using, right?
Well, hold on. Maybe he's now seriously. You don't know that he A, hasn't memorized them, B, hasn't looked them over ahead of time, or C, looked at. See, he also has a binder. I know the book looks like it's untouched, but he does have a daily 3-ring binder, and you often see him thumbing through matchups, who's on the other team's bench, my lefty-righty matchups. So just to see the book not used, I think is possibly unfair on your part, Keith.
Well, no, I didn't say it was unused. It was just sitting there.
All right.
And his matchup with Heilman and Chipper was not on.
Well, let's look at who his lefties were. See, now you raise another good point. Chipper to switch hitter, he could have walked him, but he had the straight lefty McCann coming up next, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
All right, now, left-handers are the kid just up, Waddell. Until a guy's been on the team a week or two, I can't worry about how to pronounce it. Waddell was his guy, and he still doesn't know. He's going to have to use Marshall, it appears, Saturday, unless Harden's back. So all he had was the kid, Waddell, if he wanted to match up like I think that's where you were going with that.
Well, what I was thinking, because Len and Bob were talking that Chipper had a sore foot, he was having problems batting and pushing off with his right foot. It would have been...
Yeah, but you don't want to bring the raw rookie Waddell in. What they should have done was walked him and then let Heilman take his chances righty versus McCann, because, as Bobby Brenly pointed out, it was like 6 for 12 or something career, Heilman versus Chipper. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Jay, I know we got to take a break. We got people been holding here. Can I slide one? Guys, who should I slide in? One more.
Yeah, one more quick.
We got Wicker Park Jack Beckham. Get him in there. Joe from the south side. Cubs need a captain, right, to orchestrate this vote, right? What to do with Zambrano. Do they miss Wood or DeRosa? I'm tired of that one. But still, Matt from Peru will try to get John. Phil from McHenry. Z, trade him. Yeah, Phil's right. And Crown Point Dave, lack of scouting the White Sox. We'll get to all your calls when we return. Sports Radio 670 is Murph-Palooza, driven to you by Chevy Drive Chicago. The Score. Happy Hump Day from the Hump Show. There's nothing as one of the crazy rules in baseball is to drop third strike.
Yeah.
For years it perplexed me. I go, well, why the hell, if the guy swings and misses, why isn't he out? Well, I guess, and I've asked baseball people, and they go, well, that's a good one, but the play of baseball, a play on the field, is never complete when you think about it until someone actually catches the ball. A fly ball to center, you catch it. Throw over to first, you catch it. So the ruling or the thinking years ago was you want to have a clean play.
Sure.
So the catcher, catch the ball, and then that completes the strikeout. So anyway, that's been around forever. Last night, when Soto there's strike 3 in the dirt, swing and a miss, it's tough. And the ball gets past him, pass ball, wild pitch, I guess, technically, drop third strike, runner on first, and it's part of the beginning of the end. When you're the catcher, Brian, and there's 2 strikes on the batter, and it's like real important time of the game, don't you have to, in your mind, be thinking a little differently? Such as, you know what? When that ball's in the dirt, I got to block it just as if there's a man on third and 2 out, and if it gets by me, he scores a winning run, the game's over. A catcher has a defensive mindset.
Absolutely.
Just like any player at any time in any sport, right? Don't you have to be thinking, if there's a man on third and it's a tie score and it's a 9th inning, if any of these pitches get by me, pass ball, wild pitch, whoosh, he scores, the game could be over. I got to block it at all costs.
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't think catchers, and this is not just Soto in this one, but I don't think catchers think that way on the 2-strike pitch coming in the dirt late in the game. Even if there's not a man on third, man, if I don't stop this, he swings, drop third strike, it's just like giving him a walk or a base hit.
Yeah, maybe the first thing on their mind there is this a good pitch? Will he be able to get to this pitch? Yeah, maybe it's just a question of it being the first thing in your mind as opposed to, I've got to stop this ball in the dirt.
Right, instead of just backhanding it like a normal pitch.
Because you don't know for sure that it's going to be, you don't know that it's going to be important. You don't know that he's going to swing.
Like the first pitch of a game.
Yeah.
Right? And it's down in the dirt. The catcher will half-ass. It gets, but big deal, umpire, give me any new ball.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anytime there's nobody on,
right.
unless it's a third strike.
Well, right. So what you got to do is you got to, do the old, shift your weight, get down low, and block it, even though he's swinging. But you see, that's not a normal reaction when the guy's swinging for you to, shift over body weight to block it because you think he's probably going to hit it.
You should. It should be a normal reaction from this point forward, Gio.
That's why we have the what if.
Yeah.
Thank you, Whip. Brian Peruk, great job. Let's get back to the phone lines. Everyone on hold. Get you right up. We got some great sound bites also. Lou Piniella, Ozzie Guillen last night. Got a cut from Pods also getting picked off second. Let's go to Wicker Park. Jack has been most patient. I appreciate it. Hello, Jack.
Murph, anytime for you, buddy. Listening to you, man.
Thank you. Take your time. Go ahead.
I just got two things, Murph. Okay, with Gordon.
Gordon Beckham. If anyone just tuning in, Gordon Beckham tearing up AAA. Yes.
I think it could be a great time for that Detroit series. That kid loves pressure situations. It'll be the biggest series of the year so far. And then you got interleague after that. I think it'd be a great time to ease them in and just put them against the big boys right away. It'd be a big splash at home.
Let me interact with you on that, Wicker Park, Jack. And there's no wrong or right answer. That's the beauty of it. But you went the exact opposite of where I was thinking. I was thinking if I'm Kenny or Ozzie and I got the kid, star of the future, but you never know, I don't want pressure. What I was thinking was, number one, I want to bring him up when I'm already in first. If I'm, I want to be on a big winning streak, and I want to be on the road. See, now you're doing the opposite. You're saying bring him up right now, right in the heat of the battle. At home, I almost think maybe on the road there's less reporters, maybe less pressure, but there's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
What else were your thoughts?
Does Big Z have a no-trade clause in his contract?
Well, you know what? I would imagine he does. It'd be hard to believe he doesn't. Jay Zawoski will pull that up right now. Let's assume he does.
Okay, I think the two best general managers in baseball right now, Kenny Williams and Jim Hendry, should go out downtown, Gibson's or La Luce's or whatever.
I'd plug Kenny's new restaurant, but I don't know the name of it because I wasn't invited like everybody else. Go ahead.
And try to do what's best for both teams. And try to get something done.
So what would your proposal be after the third cocktail? You get the cocktail napkin, you write down the trade. What do you have in mind here? You've got me intrigued with the first half.
Whatever. I mean, whatever.
Whatever? You have to be pretty... Here, I'll give you Zambrano for whatever. Well, the problem is with the do-re-mi, as you well know. The do-re-mi.
You've got me intrigued with the first half. Whatever. I mean, whatever.
Cracking in and out. Thank you very much. Wicker Park, Jack, thanks for holding.
He does have a full no-trade clause, by the way.
Those are just leverage. Those mean nothing.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Just like,
They mean nothing. But you got to bring up more do-re-mi. Know what I mean?
I do, yes. I know exactly what you mean.
Heck, I'll come out to your house and give you this money.
There you go. McHenry Phil is on the score this hour, brought to you by Menards. Hello, Phil.
Hey, how you doing there, Murph? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
I love talking with you. And hey, listen, I just want to comment on two quick things. I know that Zambrano has the no trade, but if it could possibly get done, maybe Danks and a Geps for Zambrano and some cash.
You're talking about Johnny Danks and Jordan Danks.
No, Danks and I know that's that. Again, that's after a third cocktail. Who knows where that's going to go? The first piece is the Danks.
Here's the thing. Let's look at the bigger picture. Do you think, and we don't know, the other 29 general managers, even if they had the do-re-mi, from their owner for Carlos Zambrano, do you think after what he's done, jumping the club, missing the plane, doing all his other antics, do you think that there are all 29 other teams would be interested in him even at the right price? Or would some say, we don't need that guy because we don't like his act?
No, I think there would be somebody.
What percentage? What percentage? Just off the top of your... Do you think half of the clubs would say, what are you, nuts?
I'd say probably about 60%.
Okay, well, that makes it tougher if indeed that is a long-term plan because you have a thinner market, as they would say.
Yeah. Hey, listen, let me just quickly on the Peavy thing, too. Sure. I think, I don't know if you know John Hyman. He's a senior writer for Sports Illustrated.
He was on the score recently. Yes, he's terrific.
He sent me a comment regarding Peavy saying that, the Cubs are in the driver's seat with this thing, and he said perhaps Henry is driving a hard bargain. So.
Well, the problem is, as you know, the ownership is taking a tank to the left, and right now there's no chance. Between you and me, I'll be shocked if Ricketts even buys this club right now.
Well, let me just say this finally. I mean, with Peavy having a no trade, I mean, he's comfortable out in San Diego. So, I mean, he might be sitting out there.
Well, see, they got to trade him, though, because they don't have the They don't have the money, the Padres. They got to get him off their books. So they've got to find a way, as they say on Wall Street, to take a haircut. Thank you very much. Hey,
right, sure.
Phone again. I appreciate it. Lou Piniella, after the game, Lou, what were you thinking? 83 pitches. You take Randy Wells out of the game. Your bullpen choices, I know you didn't have very many, Lou. What were you thinking?
Look, I mean, got 2 strikes on the guy. McCann's not a bad hitter, is he? Mm-hmm. And then they got Kotzman sitting on the bench and pinch hit. So 3-2, you try to make a good pitch to Jones, and the guy can hit. We walked in similar circumstance the time before. But 2 strikes, you go after him. The guy can hit. What can I tell you?
You can't tell us anything. 83 pitches and you took him out. Unless we find out that it was too hot Atlanta last night. And he was not it didn't look like he was even sweating. Joe, South Side, on the score with Murph. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Murph, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good, okay, I got a couple of comments if you want to touch on them.
Yeah.
Number one, at what point does Larry Rothschild start being held accountable for this relief pitching going, down the crapper here? Because you look at, I know Rich Hill is at Baltimore and he's 2-0 and all well is good. He might fall apart in a month from now. You got Jason Marquis, who's leading the National League, I think, in wins the last I looked. These guys are going to other teams. Now, Greg had great statistics last year with Florida. All of a sudden he comes here and he's falling apart. Rothschild at some point needs to be held accountable.
Right. Stay on the phone. Let's interact on that. You bring up some great points, Joe. Number one, yes, Rothschild has been unscathed. He's been under the radar. You look, and he's probably very serviceable. He's been around forever, so he's got to have some great attributes. Don't get me wrong. Right. There's a lot of pitching coaches or first-year kids up from their AAA, and all hell breaks loose, and you don't want that necessarily either. Now, that being said, you look at the exception to the rule, Duncan, with the Cardinals, who every year it seems that they get 1 or 2 or 3 reject retreads. Franklin, they get Wellemeyer, the ex-Cubby. They've got, Loesch of an arm.
Right.
And it seems like every year they shake a freaking tree and get 2 or 3 guys. Now, is that Duncan or not? I don't know. It seems like it must be. As far as the emotional, I don't know what a guy can do for Rich Hill, who had the yips or the thing for a while where, he couldn't throw the ball, and he couldn't hit the old broadside of a barn or a bull in the ass with a banjo because it was mental. I don't know that you can say that one pitching coach or the other. I don't know exactly why Hill threw 7 innings out of the bullpen for 2 hits. Greg, I don't know. Maybe the guy's, maybe he chokes with the bigger games, the bigger teams. I don't know, but he threw the worst pitch in the history of baseball, the 92 mile an hour on a tee to a free swinger. I'm quoting Bob Brenly. And Jason Marquis pitched pretty well here. He's doing the same thing, really, in a bigger ballpark, which may help him with the Rocks.
And I'll tell you, Murph, that Atlanta batter, he knew that pitch was coming, and it was just a matter of time. But the other thing I wanted to mention, too, was the Cubs. Who is the leader of the Cubs? I don't think they have a leader on this team.
Are you old enough to remember the Mickey Mouse Club? Because that was the song. Who's the leader of the club made for you, MIC? Yeah, well, right now, we will find out. Because I would like to see a team. They don't have an official captain, to answer your question directly, of course. I would like to see what happens with this guy missing the team flight and Paul Sullivan writing in the Tribune that there's trouble with his teammates. I hope these teammates get together and pass a little ballot around and vote something to do if Lou and Henry don't do it on their own. Joe, I got to run, but great call as always.
Okay, Murph.
Thank you very much. And after this quick call, we go to Peru. Matt, and then Jay, you're going to play that soundbite of Bob Brenly. Great. Matt, Peru's been holding. Hello, Matt.
How you doing, Murph? I just want to touch base with you. Earlier in the season, I don't remember if it was spring training or right at the beginning of the season, you ran a poll question wondering who the Cubs would miss more, whether it would be Mark DeRosa or Kerry Wood. And I just wonder if that poll you think would change any now, because I think it's pretty evident that they're missing Kerry Wood.
What was sometimes we run so many great, because we think about ourselves, text polls. How did that turn out? Kerry Wood or DeRosa back in the winter?
I thought it was DeRosa.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think right now it's pretty evident. I don't think Kevin Gregg strikes any fear.
Well, it's an interesting proposition. I'm very proud of that text question. It was right there on the tee for us. I would say right now, DeRosa's doing what you think he's going to do, about a 265. I believe last I looked, second with the Indians in homers. He'd be second on the Cubs in homers. Got some pretty good ribs. And Woody, he's blown his fair share and coughed them up also. Matt, I'm going to let you go. Back in a flash after. Did you find it, Jay Zawalski? Now, what do we have here? This is after Francoeur's 2-out, game-tying home run off Gregg, I believe, in the bottom of the ninth.
That's right.
All right, stick with this and then listen to Bob Brenly back after this. The score, it's Murph, driven to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com.
The 2-1 pitch. There's a deep drive. It's Reed Johnson on a warning track, and this game is tied as Francoeur just took Gregg out of the park, and Randy Wells again will get a no decision.
Bobby?
My goodness. Francoeur has tied it up. It's 5-5.
Phoebe?
What a shame that is.
Bobby?
Oh, shame indeed. I mean, that pitch is belt high right down the middle of the plate against an aggressive free swinger behind in the count. The worst possible place you could throw that fastball. Right in the middle of Jeff Francoeur's swing.
Wednesday, middle of the week, Happy Hump Day. Murph Show, middle of the day, the Happy Hump Show. Hey, Trebs, when do we have a 30-minute show preempted by White Sox baseball at 12:30?
Tomorrow. Now go have another beer. Don't bother me.
Murph's in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling.